I'm Kristen, and this is another Fill This Frame video. Look who I found! Ah! Not what I had in mind. This is who gets hair in all my paintings. Hello! We're gonna fill this frame today. It used to look gross. I got it at a garage sale again, and this, I just like the pattern. It had gold already, but it was really full. It was nicotine stained. It smelled bad. But a little wash up, sanding, paint coat, it's like new. So this is the painting I decided to put into the frame. So let's get started painting. I'll show you what I did. This is the frame that I got at the rummage sale. It was really dirty and stained when I got it, but it was this cream with gold and I liked the pattern. So I sanded it and I washed it. So to come up with a painting to put in this frame, I went through some old photographs from a vacation at the Biltmore Estates where they have these busts under a canopy of vines. And I based the painting on the female bust. So this is the drawing I came up with. And I outline it with my micron on tracing paper. Then I put graphite, just pencil line, over the outline of the entire piece so I can transfer it to my canvas because I don't have transfer paper right now. So then you just apply pressure around the whole outside of the page and you wind up with an outline of your figure. To figure out the color scheme for this painting, I used colored pencils and just did a couple thumbnail sketches and decided on this tiny little one on the edge to be my main color scheme. So she's going to be kind of a bluish green. So I started mixing my paints. I mixed 2 purple pinks and then 5 of the blue and greens. Her skin tone has 4 colors, and then there's the one turquoise kind of in the background, which is not actually used on the bust. The turquoise in the background is far more vibrant. So you just paint inside that outline you just made. You want to do like just 1 coat will be fine because this is just the base coat for her skin tone and her hair. I used freezer paper to mask off the area where I didn't want my background to be. And I just taped it down with masking tape. Then I started to paint. I put the dark purple down at the bottom and started working my way up. Then I started to work pink into the purple and make a gradient as I went up through the painting. I found it was easiest for me to turn my painting sideways so that I was making vertical strokes instead of horizontal strokes, because then they could be long and very straight. Whereas if I'm doing it sideways, they tend to curve. So then you do your turquoise aquamarine up at the top and blend that into the pink, and you'll find it makes a kind of a muddy purple in between. It's quite pretty. So this is the first coat, and it's still wet, I believe, but you can see the frame of the canvas, so I decided I needed a second coat, which is very common. I almost always do 2 coats over the entire canvas, unless it's very thick paint, and this is a 2-coat kind of paint. So this is the second coat. You do the same steps. I chose to start at the top and work my way down. Just make sure your first coat is entirely dry before you start applying your second coat of paint. So here we remove the freezer paper, which I retaped because it wasn't tape well enough the first time. Now you want to go back to your tracing paper. I put graphite along the back of all of the lines. I just drew on the back with pencil. And that way when you put it on your canvas, you can transfer it with just pressure of a pen. But be careful not to rip your tracing paper, because the canvas will bend in when you put pressure on it, and you will draw through your paper. So I painted the base of the bust, and I just used the shade darker and then white to highlight. Now I'm going to put detail on the background. I wanted to put vines in the background because when I had seen this bust, it was underneath a canopy of vines. So I'm just doing a very graphic, two-dimensional type patterning of these vines, because that's the style I'm kind of going with it being a cartoon bust. And then I'm putting dots. If you watched one of my other videos, you will know I like putting dots in things. Dots and swirls. You will see as it goes up, they appear darker as you get to the pink, and the pink appears brighter as you get to the turquoise. So I painted the shadows in her shoulders and her wrap. You just take the darker green that I had mixed earlier and go over all the line work, and then scumble, which is like your brush is dry and your canvas is mostly dry. You just take a little bit of paint, and by rubbing the bristles back and forth, you kind of move the paint around and just get it into where there are shadows. So here I'm using the darker blue for the more deeper shadows. You can see how I'm moving the brush, where it's just short. It's like a poke and a pull. You poke the painting and you pull the paint. You poke it and then you kind of wiggle back and forth to shove it wherever you want it to fade out. Here's the highlight. If you just do one color at a time on top of dry paint, and you just kind of push and pull it across where you want it to go, it blends as you let the paint dissipate off your brush. So I'm just kind of shoving the paint around wherever I want it to go. The highlights are where the light would hit the most. The shadows are where obviously there's no light, so that is where I put the darker blue and the darker green. I think just about my favorite part of every painting is doing the eyes and the nose and the eyebrows. Mostly just the focal point, you know, the face. I love doing the face. Gotta give her those sharp eyebrows. So now I'm going to be contouring the face. You do the same thing as you do with the rest of it, where you just do all the shadow color first on top of your mid-tone. The mid-tone is the base paint you did. So you do all the shadows, and then you go back in with the lightest color you mixed and do highlight. I know it looks like it's white right now, but it's not actually white. This is just a really light green. So if you want to drag this light color across, or any of the colors, if you want to drag it across and you feel like you've run where it's not quite smooth enough blending, you can add just a little bit of water to your brush and then bring it right back onto the canvas and move the paint a little more. It just takes a lot of practice. So this is actually white. I'm using white to highlight the eyes and mouth. Now it's time to put the shadows in over the lines in the headpiece, in her hair flowers. So you just take your darker green and you basically take a very fine brush and just go over where all the lines had been from the drawing. And then you add in your deeper shadow and then you add in your lighter highlights. And voila! She is complete. Quite happy with this one, so it's time to sign it. Now we're going to mix the paint for the frame. I just took 2 of the lightest greens and put them into a bigger container and added a bunch of white paint to it. So I'm going to do 2 coats of the light green paint, and then I'm going to add the gold in just the gold leaf places. And don't forget to paint the back of your frame, because with this one it does pop up off of the wall and you can see a little bit of the back. I know it'll be mostly in shadow, but it's still better and more polished if you paint around the whole back of the frame as well. Plus, it did smell kind of funny, so I wanted to seal in any kind of old nicotine odor and all that. For the gold, I started out using a brush that was much too big and thought I could get away with it, but you'll see soon I changed to a very tiny brush. So you only touch the very edge. And I was just going with the shape of the frame, and then I did the inside border gold as well, you'll see. I had to do 5 or 6 coats of this gold paint. It is very thin. If you can get a thicker gold paint, I would say go for it, because this did take a whole day just to paint the frame with the gold on it. You want to make sure between every coat of paint you do that the previous coat is entirely dry, or it'll start to kind of peel off when you make your brush strokes. This is the finished frame, and I put a clear coat over the whole thing. I did 2 coats of an acrylic sealant. So there she is, all finished. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I have a Facebook page you can like and an Etsy store where you can shop, and the links are in the description below. I will be putting her for sale soon. I have to get hardware. I have her scotch taped currently, but I will get hardware and then she'll be in the Etsy shop. That's all I had for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.